Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Empowered in Health. I am so excited you're here, as always, to join the conversation. We talk all about mindset, mental health, inside out wellness, nutritional habits, fitness habits, and how do we really take care of ourselves well, day in and day out. Today I want to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome. This is actually something that I am really struggling with personally right now. And because of that, I felt like, I need to come on the podcast and share a little bit more of my heart, share a little bit more of what's been happening in my life, and hopefully give you some key takeaways and some key messages around how do you work through this kind of feeling in your day-to-day. So I actually invested in a business mentorship this year. I made an investment financially that is about 10 to 12 times more than I've ever invested in more support for business mentorship and having somebody really walk me through how do I build my personal brand? How do I really message in a way that speaks to the people that I'm meant to serve, that I'm feeling called to serve? And it has been the most mind-blowingly amazing experience so far. I have learned so much already in such a short amount of time. And it's also been stirring up some pretty deep insecurity that I have always had, but that is just coming to the surface more. The more I get into, diving into who I really feel called to help. And one of the things that's popping up the most is imposter syndrome. And I'm going to kind of talk through this exercise that I did last night and share a little bit about why this is happening for me. So one of the things that you do inside this mentorship is you really dig into your brand DNA, right? So you're unpacking who is it that you serve? Why do you serve them? How do you serve them well? What is your uniqueness? What is your message? What problem do you solve? And what is it that you can actually offer to somebody that may need your services, that may need, your coaching support? And so that's what I'm really trying to nail down and unpack right now in my own personal journey. And the exercise that I went through last night was about your uniqueness and the message of what it is that you actually help people with, right? And within the message and the portion of that piece of the exercise, there's this component where it really talks about what is the problem that you solve, what is the unique way that you solve it, and how many steps did it take you personally to overcome whatever the situation is that you potentially help people overcome as well. And what are, the things that people can really learn or dig into when it comes to addressing the problem that they may have also in their life and essentially taking steps forward to do better, to create change, whatever that might be. And here's my truth. When I got to this piece of the puzzle, I haven't solved the problem yet. Personally in my life, I haven't solved the problem yet. I am in a season right now in my health and wellness journey where I am in major reflection mode, trying to really discern where I'm being called. Also trying to really understand what it is in my own personal life that I have to keep working on habit-wise and just personal wellness-wise, right? And it's been a discovery process, a lot of healing, a lot of unlearning, which I've talked about in the past couple episodes. And it's been so uncomfortable. So here's my truth. My truth is I haven't really gotten to the place of solving the problem yet. I have little pieces that have been solved, little pieces that feel better, little pieces that have been eye-opening for me that I've been able to research more, get educated about, get certified through. And I feel more equipped in the sense of like having the education around how do you advocate through this season of your life as a female, right? But as far as like actually giving someone tangible steps, tips, tricks, and tools to really help you solve the specific problem that I believe I help women through, I'm not there yet. And that's hard, not only for my personal wellness, but also in this sense of like building out my coach offering, building out the way I want to support other women. How in the world can I do that in my mind when I haven't personally solved the problem yet in my own life? And, that's kind of a hard thing to swallow. It's kind of a hard thing to really embrace. But I believe in the power, as you guys know from following me, or if you're new here, welcome as always. I believe in the power of being really raw and real and vulnerable and saying like, this is my truth. I don't have it all figured out. I haven't even solved the problem yet. I don't even have all the answers. And I know that I never will, but it's a hard road to go down, especially as a coach, when you're like in this mental and emotional space of trying to figure out your own personal health and wellness. And that's just really where I'm at, right? I am no doubt called to serve in the women's health space. I am no doubt being led to dive in deeper on this season of transition and to walk women through it, talk with women through it, and really be honest about just how hard it can feel to go through this huge mental and emotional battle again in my health and wellness journey. You know, I believe again in the power of being transparent through that, because otherwise we feel so freaking alone in the seasons of transition that we go through. You know, right now in my personal life, I am learning a lot about what does health and wellness look like and feel like when you are getting beyond your reproductive years. What is actually happening with your body as you move into your 40s? What is perimenopause? What do I need to get educated and learn more about when it comes to habits or supplements, nutrition and fitness, focuses? What does that need to look like as I grow older, as my health evolves, and as I get closer to menopause and really truly into midlife? What do all those changes look like? I'm still learning that. And like I shared, I've been able to create some changes and I've been able to solve some problems, so to speak, but I'm not all the way there yet. I'm still learning a lot right now. And quite honestly, doing a lot of healing and unlearning too, which is the harder part of the whole process. And again, when I think about going back to my business mentorship and the exercise I did last night and talking through this idea of like, what is my uniqueness? What problem do I solve? And what is the unique way that I solve it? I don't know yet. But you know what? As I just shared, like being vulnerable through the process matters. And I think it's so powerful when humans can share, like, I don't have it all figured out. I don't have the answers. I don't know exactly where I'm going, right? I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. I don't have all the details yet. However, I am going to stay committed to the learning of it. I am going to stay committed to the growing and the evolving that I know is necessary in order to get to the place of getting to the answer or solving the problem or really stepping into my uniqueness. You know, I have this, like I shared at the beginning, this really interesting voice in my head, right? This imposter. This voice in my head that tries to convince me all the time that because I don't have the answers, that I'm not qualified. Because I don't know the exact problem that I solve yet, I might as well not coach, right? Because I'm not nailing down my uniqueness, I don't know what I'm doing, right? None of that is true. I know, and I want you to know this too, that like stepping into who you're meant to be, who you're called to serve, building a business, stepping into a new job, whatever you're doing in motherhood, transitioning to a new season, whatever it is, it comes with learning and growth and imperfection, and it's going to be hard. And it's not going to be exactly what we draw up in our brains. And we're not going to have all the answers. And we're going to come across that voice in our head telling us that we're not worth it, or that we can't figure it out, or that maybe we weren't meant to do what we're doing. I know that's not easy. And that's the mental battle that I'm really working through right now. How do you deal with imposter syndrome? How do you really manage that voice in your head? One of the things that works for me the best, and this is what I want to kind of give you as the takeaway today, is really making sure that I am speaking truth and listening to truth as much as possible, right? So for me personally, that means I'm reading scripture, I'm diving into devotionals, I'm learning more about what does God say about who I am. What does God say about my mission and my heart? What does God say about where I'm headed in my life, right? And what I'm meant to do and who I'm meant to serve, right? Well, what does he say? Not what does the voice in my head say, not what does my past say, not what does my imposter or insecurity say, right? What does God say, right? That's a big one for me personally, right? Another big one is just making sure that I'm focusing most and as often as possible on the things that I am doing well, right? So yeah, I came up against this exercise last night in my business mentorship where I had to dig into uniqueness and I had to dig into my message and the problem. And that was really uncomfortable and hard for me because I was not able to really identify anything decisive yet, right? Or anything specific yet. However, there's been other pieces to the mentorship so far that I've been able to really nail down, which feels so good, right? Like, who is the person that I feel called to serve? Who am I speaking to, right? What does that person do for a living? What do they look like? What do they love? What do they enjoy? Like, what do they value? What are they passionate about? Like, I feel very strongly that I am super connected to who that person is. And that's the stuff that I'm starting to dig into even more and really clarify even more. And those things felt really good. So in these moments when I'm trying to manage imposter syndrome and kind of get through this process of figuring out, okay, what's real as far as this thoughts in my head and what's just stories or insecurity or imposter syndrome, I try to focus in most on, what am I doing well? What am I sure about? What do I feel grateful for? What do I know is good, right? Again, the God component for me and leaning into who he says I am is a big piece. The other big piece is leaning into the right kinds of communities that help me feel really supported and encouraged. Leaning into my family, leaning into my friends that make me feel like I, can make a difference and they support me and encourage me. Leading into, other mentorship opportunities where I'm surrounded by people who are also working on imposter syndrome, who are also working on trying to nail down their brand, who are trying to really figure out, how do I serve other people well, or how do I step into the space that I'm feeling called to step into, right? It's such a journey and a process. It really, truly is. And I know I am a broken record and I say this all the time, but I think, again, we cannot be diligent enough when it comes to really digging into who we are and being real about that. Not being afraid to say in a very vulnerable way, I don't have it all figured out. And I am really insecure in certain seasons and in certain moments. And I'm just trying the best I can, just like you are. That's powerful, especially for women. I'm a health coach. I care a lot about fitness and nutrition. I care a lot about healthy lifestyle. I care about habits. I care about cleaner brands and swaps in our day-to-day life. I care about leading women to a place where they feel empowered with the right knowledge on how to get educated about what their bodies need, especially as your health evolves over time. I feel so incredibly passionate about the things I do, but I don't have it all figured out. I never will. I never will. And as someone who's coaching women through their health and wellness, I want to be transparent about that because I think there's, again, power in sharing that I'm learning right along with you. I'm doing the hard and heavy work with you. And I get defeated and I get discouraged and I get unmotivated and I get, filled with imposter syndrome and I get, overwhelmed, paralyzed, all the things, just like you may also. Whether that's on your health and wellness journey, in your work, as a mom, as a wife, whatever it might be, those feelings that we feel in our day-to-day are real. And I'm someone who wants to keep sharing, like, if you feel them, feel what you need to. And then figure out what are you going to do to process them and then move on through it and grow through it and evolve through it. And so I just kind of wanted to share this story and my truth today because, again, this is kind of a harder thing for me, especially as a health and wellness coach, right? I have the tools and I'm investing in my own coaches right now. And I'm still in this place of self-discovery, evolution, learning, unlearning, healing, and trying to figure it out and trying to get to a place where I really am connected to and feel, grounded in my own body. Right now, I'm not quite there. And I talk to women every single day who experience the same thing. And, I actually shared this a couple weeks ago on the Sync webinar that we did, which I'm happy to share the recording with you if that's something you're interested in. You can go to the show notes of this podcast and I'll have all the details there of how to get access to the recording of the webinar we shared. And we talked a lot about hormone health. We talked a lot about female physiology. We talked a lot about personal stories, working with clients. What are the struggles we see with women that we talk to? And what I personally shared was most recently in my life, I turned 41 this year. And this all really started to happen about 37, 38 for me. But most recently in my life, when it comes to health and wellness, I feel like I'm at the same place that I was freshly postpartum. I feel like I am relearning a whole new level of health transition, life transition, body transition, habits transition. Like I'm just in a completely different season than I was 8 years ago when I really started to dive into more of the health and wellness journey as a mom, right? And even before that, the transition was, how do I dive into a health and wellness journey like in my teens, in my athlete years, then in college, post-college, all of those things. For me, all of these things have been different transitional times and seasons of my health and wellness. And here I am again in this totally new season of transition. And it's hard, but it's real. And again, something I talk to women about all the time. And even though I feel really unglued some days, just like I did freshly postpartum, like I know the importance of staying diligent and determined to figure out what is it that I need in my body and my brain to feel really good. So my hope and prayer is that this message encouraged you in some way today, right? If you are someone who, is managing some level of imposter syndrome, you feel like you aren't worth it, or you can't do it, or you don't have the answers, so maybe that it's not meant for you. Whatever it is that you are telling yourself, know that none of those things are true. Know that you deserve to step into exactly who you are, right? I can't encourage you enough to dig into the truth, whatever that looks like for you, something that's gonna feed you with positivity and truth about who you are, people that are gonna do the same, right? Communities that are gonna do the same, experiences that are gonna do the same, like those things matter, right? Really digging into what is the truth about who I am, and what are the things that are going well? What am I doing well? How can I stay grounded in that as I'm learning and evolving into the next thing? Okay? I want you to stay grounded in that. That is something that I'm really working hard on right now in this hard season of transition, and really continuing to figure out what does my next level of health and wellness look like and feel like, and how can I continue to empower women also on this similar journey to get to that place too. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Have a good one.